Apple updated its desktop PCs today. The new iMac all-in-ones have better screens and better peripherals, according to the company at least, and some reviewers. But the prices haven't changed. Jeffrey Fowler is the personal technology columnist for the Wall Street Journal and joins us to tell us all about it. Welcome to the show, Jeffrey.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on. Now, the biggest specification that jumps out in all this are a 4K screen for the 21.5-inch iMac and a 5K screen for the 27-inch model. Now, they used to charge a premium for these this quality of screen, and this seems like a lot of screen for the money. Can you talk about the prices they're charging for these devices and how they compare generally with other devices that have similar screen resolutions?
Sure. Well, you may remember last fall, Apple came out with what they called the Retina 5K iMac. That's the 27-inch big jumbo guy. And that's got a screen that's kind of like you have on your iPhone or an iPad. It's got that Retina screen that really kind of makes the pixels melt away and type look really crisp. People who do a lot of photography and a lot of video, like myself, loved this computer last year. I mean, there's no better way to kind of get immersed into a world or edit photos or edit video. But as you mentioned, Apple was charging quite a premium for that computer. It was basically $700 on top of a base level 27-inch iMac. A year later, they are now making that screen sort of the default on all 27-inch iMacs without the premium. So for $1,800 as a starting point, you'll get that screen on a new iMac. And then also on the smaller one, on the 21.5-inch iMac, now they've given that as an option, and it's a couple $100 more.
Hey, Jeffrey, as we were coming onto the program today and setting up for the program, my mouse almost went dead. I needed to change my batteries. Now, I heard and/or read, according to you, the Magic Mouse 2, this thing's rechargeable. Can you tell us a little bit about how that'll work, and I'll avoid a mouse outage going forward?
Exactly. It's one of my biggest pet peeves about the iMac. As you mentioned, there is also a new mouse, a new keyboard, and a new trackpad with the iMac, which you get when you buy one, or you can buy separately. This is the new Magic Mouse 2. It looks pretty similar to the old one, and actually, this is the peripheral that Apple has changed the least. But like the others, it now has, at the bottom right there, you'll see a little charging port, just like you've got on an iPhone or an iPad. And you plug that puppy in. 2 minutes, they say you'll have enough charge to use it for a whole day. You charge it for longer, it'll go at least a month. And that's going to save a lot of hassle. First of all, we all hate that message that you get at the top of the screen saying, your mouse is going to run out. You have to throw away those batteries, go get some new ones. So I think this is a nice move on Apple's part to kind of make it less annoying. And we also all, if you have an iMac, good chances are you have an iPhone too. So you've got that cable sitting around anyway. You just plug it in, you're good to go. And
as you mentioned, they made other changes. The Magic Trackpad is now larger, and there are other changes as well. They've generally improved the peripherals here. Now, if you use Apple products enough, you start to detect this sort of Apple-y, sort of invisible hand behind the scenes. When they decide they want you to use something in a specific way, they force you to use it that way. and the fact that the charging port on that Magic Mouse is on the bottom very clearly makes it, I can just tell that this is Apple saying, no, you're not going to plug this thing in and leave it plugged in and use it as a wired mouse. That is not going to happen. We're not going to have any confusion about that point. You cannot use it while it's being charged, and in order to use it, it has to be completely unplugged.
That's true, and that's actually why they say they made the mouse charge so quickly so that you can just do it for 2 minutes, then you'll be going all day long. With the keyboard and the trackpad, actually, you do have the option to leave it plugged in. It's right there on the side. But the mouse, for sure, you're not going to be mousing around with that thing plugged in.
Unlike Joe, who's always mousing around with his non-rechargeable wireless mouse. Now, you mentioned something interesting. You said that the new screen technology, which reportedly is breathtaking, we're going to go into some depth in that technology in our next segment. But you mentioned that in order to see the real difference between the old technology and the new technology for the screens, you need your photos and videos to be saved in a format called DCI P3. What kind of camera do we need in order to really see the difference and support this format?
Sure, yeah. So for those who haven't followed the news yet, in addition to these ultra high resolution screens, Apple also, in both the small and the large iMac, can now support 25% more colors. What's been happening is that most LCD screens, including the ones that iMacs and iPhones and iPads have long had, actually can't really show the full range of colors that, of course, the human eye can see, or even actually that higher-end cameras like DSLRs are able to capture. Even the iPhone actually initially captures more color, but then reduces it, cuts back on some of it before it sends it out and saves it on your phone. So what Apple's doing is sort of moving into, I think, what's one of the next modes for a lot of displays in our lives, which is this expanded color space. We see it now in a desktop computer. We're also going to get it soon in our televisions. The TV industry calls this HDR technology, where, again, the impact on you is that it looks like certain colors are just kind of brighter, more vibrant, particularly in the greens, the reds, and the yellows. I've had the new iMac and the old iMac sitting side by side here at the journal's offices, and I've just sort of been asking folks who walk by to look at the same image on both of them. One saved in, as you noted, that expanded color space model that P3 is what it's called, and the other saved in a traditional RGB color space. And people can see the difference when there's a lot of those particular colors in there. Everything just looks like it had the saturation cranked up to 11.
Hey, Jeffrey, I think in your coverage you mentioned that USB Type-C and also Touch ID are missing. Can you explain Apple's decision process behind that?
Well, unfortunately, Apple doesn't explain its decision process behind much to journalists, as you guys know. But I can certainly talk about why I think I was curious that they're both missing. USB Type-C, as you remember, they put in that new MacBook to some controversy. It uses it for both power and for other inputs. And I presumed, or we all presumed at the time, that was Apple signaling that it was moving in to that technology, but they did not put it on this new iMac. There's a traditional USB and FireWire and other ports, but not USB Type-C, which seems curious to me if Apple's really committed to that. The bigger problem for me is that passwords remain a challenge for us on computers, and Apple has taken some important steps to kind of make them less annoying on the iPhone and iPad with Touch ID. You just use your fingerprint to log in, to make payments, you name it. There's still nothing close to that here in the Mac world, either on a laptop or on a desktop on these iMacs, and that seems like a mystery to me. At this point, Windows 10 computers are coming out that have a Windows 10 feature called Windows Hello, where basically it uses the camera to sense whether it's really you and then automatically log you in. Apple's really kind of falling behind on this kind of technology, and I would have thought they would have taken this opportunity to get back into it.
I would have thought so as well. Now, Jeffrey, now that your review is published, I know that that 27-inch iMac has taken up a lot of space on your desk, so you can just go ahead and send that to me, and you're welcome. So I'll take that off your hands.